welcome to the Security Today podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Bear. I'm super excited to be on a brand new tech segment within the Security Today podcast's environment. You can see that it's growing, and as a first one, I knew I couldn't let y'all down. I had to bring in big guns and only up from there, and that's exactly what we did with GeoKey. So as you can see, I actually have a stand with a lock on it because Sprinter is a GeoKey partner. But that happened after I'd already asked them on the podcast, because within seeing their product, I knew that I wanted to get in front of you listeners. I wanted to show you the way that the world is going from a security perspective and some of the exciting new things that are coming out of the physical security space. So I have Brandon Peterson on with me today, the CEO and founder of GeoKey. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit, kind of tell us just how you got into even being a CEO and founder of something as cool as GeoKey, and then let us know kind of a brief synopsis of what type of security solution it is. Maybe a market it serves or two. We will get into a bunch of stuff. But Brandon, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for being here, and take it away.
Thanks, Bear. Appreciate it. I'm really excited to be here and appreciate Sprinter and our partnership going forward. So just to reiterate, I'm Brandon Peterson. I'm the CEO founder here at GeoKey. I don't come from the security industry. I kind of stumbled upon it by accident, and so glad I did. So I was a small business owner, used to own gyms. They were 24-hour gyms, key fob based to access, and people were passing them off, and I knew they weren't the members coming in. And I said, I'm lacking security, data analytics, remote access control, and this solution I have is just not meeting my needs. So I looked at the market and I said, I want to do something better, and I want to use everything around the phone. I want to make the phone the key, right? But I looked out into the market and there was companies doing it, but they were manufacturing their own hardware components and putting an app on top. And I said, I want to do something a little bit different. You know, Uber, they took the methodology of not owning the cars but being the platform for them. Airbnb took the approach of being a platform but not own the real estate. Could I do that same thing with access control? Well, that's what we did. Bootstrapped the company. We got an issued patent on using the location base of the phone to unlock a door, and we started making some amazing partnerships. So those were Access Communications, Carry Systems, Master Lock, who has been fantastic, Port, and now we officially get to launch our integration with PDK and Yale. So we have more to come this year, but to create this hardware agnostic mobile access solution, that's what we did with GeoKey.
Yeah, that is awesome, and we will get into it. I'm so excited to hear that you're having integrations with companies like Yale and PDK, and you already had integrations with big name companies, reputable companies like Access Communications and Carry Systems.
Absolutely.
And so just kind of off the cuff, but I am curious, like when you got started building GeoKey, first of all, how did you land on companies like Access and Carry Systems? And then what does even that approach look like? Like a knock on the door with chocolates, or like, how does that work?
It's I'll use, NoKey was our first one that we got into. And so we got into their little door controllers as well as their padlocks, which was great for us. And then they believed in us, and then Access Communications was next. I remember I was at a board meeting and they said, you should try to get Master Lock. And I thought, wow, that would be crazy to get Master Lock. They're so big. And they said, aren't you going to be big? I said, that's right. So I kept calling them and LinkedIn messaging them and doing online submissions. And eventually they were like, who are you? I said, I just want a conversation. And so it just starts from there, and then you cultivate a relationship, and that goes into a partnership with these companies. And I'll tell you, in each one of these companies, there's just phenomenal people that truly care about security and well-being of people. And we are just here as a partner, as a mobile credential, as a platform to expand that reach, give more features, and to have security and simplicity all in the same breath.
Yeah. And so you started out, I kind of really like your come up story where you're starting out in these gyms where you probably see, I don't know that, I mean, I have a gym at the townhomes that I live in, and I've been to part of gyms, and I don't remember the last time I went to a gym and saw someone there without their phone. I mean, that's kind of like something that your phone and your keys are on every bench, at the corner of every deadlift. You know what I'm saying? That goes with you everywhere. So seeing that, you saw the pain point, and then you went after it. And you mentioned when you were explaining it that it's hardware agnostic. And I think that it's interesting because you almost had this like stars aligned path that you walked from this major pain point in an industry where you saw everybody with their phone, and then you started to build it and started to patent it, and you got into this hardware agnostic security platform that now is pretty much one of one. I mean, that's not something that the security industry was seeing. That's definitely not something that the security industry thought of and you perfected it or anything like that. It is coming out of left field, literally.
Yeah.
But what's your take on the access control industry when it comes to maybe that software and hardware integration and how those normally go, and what GeoKey's doing different from that standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. Our integrations are very deep with these companies. So we do full SDK integrations. That means we can unlock doors through an API call, BLE, NFC. We can do all of these things. What makes us different, and this blows everyone's mind when I say this, and we don't require things. We don't require readers. So if you walk up to a door, there's no reader on that wall, and GeoKey can unlock it. And that's been kind of a, whoa, you're saving a lot of cost there. We don't require managed Wi-Fi, so we don't need the locks like a Yale lock or a master lock, port lock. They don't have to be online. They don't have to be connected or hubbed. Because we use the LTE of the phone to do the credentialing. And so these are a couple ways that our patent allows us to do that and hold us apart and differentiate ourselves in the market. The whole thing is to create properties that are smart without dumping tons of money into it for a giant overhaul of that property. So how can I do it at a low-cost barrier of entry from a financial perspective, but not compromise on any of the features and have an amazing security solution? And that's what GeoKey does. And in that transition, we went from small retail, and then now what our bread and butter is multifamily apartments all across the United States.
And that's kind of where you guys are majorly playing right now, is in that MDU space, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. So MDU is broad, and where we play best would be Class B, Class A suburban apartments, garden style apartments, student housing, and affordable living. And we really can go in at, like I said, that low cost barrier of entry, very easy install. We have project managers, sales engineers, estimators, and field tech engineers on staff to help with implementation. So we're with our integrator partners every step of the way. But on top of that, we have client services that are going to teach and educate the property owners on how to utilize the software too. So we're very multidimensional in that aspect. So we're communicating deeply with the ownership groups and then working hand in hand with the integrator groups to make sure it all goes off that hitch.
Yeah, definitely. And do you integrate now with PDK and with Axis and with Carry? And those are some really strong brands. But what would you say the benefit and maybe the hindrances of proprietary software hardware? Because Axis Communications and PDK and Carry Systems, they've had those for a really long time, where it's their hardware, it's their software, and there's benefits to that and there's restrictions. What would you say those are?
Listen, they all have a great software. They have a software that you can manage credentials and you get things that you need for certain types of properties. Where GeoKey plays is in the MDU space because of our additional integrations. It's our property management system integrations. That's our self-guided touring. We're partnered with Residio, Honeywell for smart thermostats and water leak detection. We can do maintenance requests and so on. So it's all of these additional things that's tailored to the MDU space. And that's why we've partnered with these companies, and they wanted to partner with us because we can expand reach in those areas and tailor to a niche market.
So you're like Mario's one-up mushroom.
My kids love that movie.
Yeah. So you can pretty much have a like a standard system that's on maybe already, or a MDU space where maybe more traditional access control doors should lie, and then
Hmm.
GeoKey can come in and work within that environment to basically seamlessly allow the entire building now to be on an access control platform.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and you can mix and match manufacturers.
mm,
So say we're using carry systems for common doors and PDK on elevators, and we're using Yale locks for because we need the deadbolt. You can mix and match to create a really customized solution. There's no one property that's the same. So our sales engineers and estimators on staff will help recommend what they believe is best for that property. And we'll utilize, our partnership groups like PDK or whoever to say, yes, I can do that. That's within our means. And we're providing the best solution for the customer. Because at the end of the day, it's what's best for that property. And it's going to work, and they're not going to have any issues long term, and they can call back and say on. So that's what we've done really well with our partnership groups, and able to go to the market and explain that.
so on the GeoKey app, is it a mobile credential, or is it more of remote access, or is it both?
It's a mobile credential. So within GeoKey, you have a list of which doors you have access to at certain times. All the credentialing happens within the GeoKey app. So we have multi-factor authentication. Log in. You have to be within the geofence. Biometric. To get in, it's a seamless login experience. And then you have access to the doors you're allocated. And if I want to give access, to the gym only from 8 to 5 within the apartment complex, that's all done within the phone. That's not done within the locks.
Mm. And so that mobile credential, I feel like that is obviously it's taken full storm of the security industry. Mobile credentials kind of got their rise maybe like 3 or 4 years back. It was really getting some buzz, and now it is just something that if you don't have a mobile credential in your line as a security manufacturer, then you're really missing out on some things. So how critical do you feel, as someone who saw that as a problem and then saw the mobile credential as the solution, how critical do you feel that integrators within security are adopting and pitching these mobile access solutions?
I'll just give you some stories. So as we were going to the market and talking to these ownership groups in MDU, a couple years ago, it was, I want to wait a little bit until mobile really, people start using it. My friends are using it. Now when we pitch it, it's, yeah, okay, sounds good. I want this type of deadbolt, and I want this PMS integration, and I need this self-guide touring, and don't forget my thermostat. And I can only go over, this is my budget. And it's like, whoa, what happened to not wanting to use mobile to now I need this laundry list of items? And they've got really smart. And so when it's coming to the market, it's understanding that it's not just access control that they need. They need to centralize it in their operations. And so if you can centralize the technology to work in their operations, that's when you win. And so you have to understand when you're going to the market in MDU space, can you play within their wheelhouse?
Yeah. And do you feel like, okay, so what do you feel like the MDU space might look like in 3 to 5 years' time as we continue on this trajectory of mobile access?
So property manager turnover is about 60% right now on average nationally. And so
That's
there's
a
a
lot.
lot of, yeah, it's a lot. So getting the softwares to all speak to each other and be centralized, and our approach is centralizing it around the key, the thing they use 8 to 12 times every single day to get into their homes. So taking the touring, the credentialing, the CRM, the thermostat control, that all needs to be centralized around that. So it's going to be bringing that all together into one solution. So it's one throat to choke type of deal. They only want a couple to deal with on property. So as we keep moving forward in the MDU space, that's what you're going to start seeing, centralization.
Yeah, and that I think you're right, 100%. That centralization and making it more convenient for the person who's running it is going to be a huge factor that comes into play. And when you can step onto a site and provide a hardware agnostic, so it doesn't matter if you got something on there or if you want to, if your budget is less or if your budget is more, we can play in all of those fields. And then we're going to give your people the ability to use a mobile credential, and you don't have to worry about losing those fobs or turning them over or doing anything like that. Because I feel that maybe one thing that for people who are outside of the security industry, that if they're not the person within their career or job who's credentialing people who now work for you or work at your company, they don't quite understand what a hassle that is. Getting cards back, making sure that you can either write and rewrite cards, doing that with like clunky hardware that looks like it's from 96. Like it's not easy, and it can get messy really quick. But you're right, with GeoKey and what I've seen personally from the app, it is now a smooth and seamless transaction, and that kind of like takes weight off the table and allows that property manager to maybe spend more time on the property, spend more time on the culture or the community that is around there. And that's definitely something that I think you're hitting it right on the head with where that's going.
I love everything you're saying, because it's exactly right. It's a B to B to C experience. You're selling to the business, but the consumer has to have a good experience or they're going to leave. The MDU space is becoming more of like the hospitality space. You know, they can go find another apartment across the street. So this is where you have to give them a good experience. And then from but you can't break their bank to the business side. So no more changing out locks, no more rekeying, and that saves so much cost and operational expenditures. But the tenants are using that every single day. So if that application and those integrations aren't sharp, they aren't on point, and they can't get in, nothing else matters, because they are so frustrated. And who are they going to call? The property managers, the owners. And who are they going to call? They're going to call us, and they're going to be upset. So to do it well and offer that good experience is imperative for everybody. It's imperative for the integrator, for the manufacturers, for us, the owners, and that resident. So you really have to think of it in a very multidimensional lens, because there's so many people affected based off of which technologies chose to go into a property.
Yeah. And so I want to highlight kind of two main features within GeoKey's platform, and that is, you've already mentioned them, but that is the fact of geofencing and the fact of not needing a Wi-Fi setup to have your locking system online or something like that. So starting with the Wi-Fi analogy, so we use, or the Wi-Fi concept, so we have used in the past at Sprinter, and I've used at other companies as well, wireless locking mechanisms that usually run off of a gateway that you've dropped the PoE cable to. And then that gateway works and it all lives on the network. And if the network goes down, you're kind of SOL for a minute. It might still, it might have some redundancy built into it where it functions offline, but the problem is that you can make no changes. You can record no data, see no reports or anything like that. And one thing that GeoKey really caught my interest, these two things that I want to go over, is because when I saw it on your website, which I was telling you earlier before we started, that I saw GeoKey off of LinkedIn, and I just started looking at it, and I'm like, holy cow. And one of those things was that you don't need a Wi-Fi structure for your locks to run. Can you kind of elaborate and explain from that standpoint? Because that is a huge factor to an integrator, especially if that integrator doesn't play within datacom or networking, and they have to now rely on someone else for their security product to be issued correctly or implemented.
Yeah. You know, we just seen so many issues for being reliant on the networking, the managed Wi-Fi. If that goes down, you can't get in, and then the frustrations rise, right? And so this is a testament to how deep our integrations go with these wireless lock companies. To be able to speak to it via BLE, they're offline, and our integration is so deep that it says GeoKey can unlock me. We use the LTE of the phone, the network of the phone, to do the credentialing. It's saying, I'm Bear, I'm here in this location, I have access to this lock at this time, and I can push unlock, and it's going to communicate to that directly and allow you in. Now, it's a very quick, seamless process, but those are all the checks and balances that is taking place when you do that. So because of how deep that is, the lock is not actually doing the credentialing itself. It's GeoKey doing it.
And where in the process of building the idea of GeoKey, from coming out of those sweaty gyms, did you come to the idea of, I don't want it to live on the network, I just want it to work all the time?
This was kind of getting into the market in the security industry. When you come in from the outside, you start asking questions, and you go, why is it done this way? And a lot of the time you would hear, well, this is how we've always done it. And then we said, well, why do we have to have a reader? Can't we just call the controller and to have the relay hit the strike? Well, I suppose you could. Well, isn't the phone online? Can't I just do the credentialing within the phone? I suppose you could. So I had, as I was getting into this, and I've, there's books like Crossing the Chasm or other books that talk about data research and market feedback. And so I just went around asking all different types of integrators from across the United States and saying, why, how, why not? And they would eventually, we led to this point. It was like, okay, we can do this without all this infrastructure. Let's build it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's huge. And you know what? It's a testament to, sometimes it takes an outside set of eyes to come in and be like, why are you doing it this way, to make something better, like an industry. And so it's one of the reasons that I'm really glad that I feel as if, this is just a side note, but I feel as if the security industry is a little more open now than it used to be, of letting people come in because of this merger with technology, closing the gap from the physical system to the logical one. Everything's living on the network. It's like allowing some doors to open so that people can come in and be in the industry and still be credible and not shunned away because they didn't, grow up cutting keys in a van. And so it is something that I really am appreciative for, and I really like that your story comes from that, because it shows just how important it can be if you get the right people into the industry from outside, that they can create things that help the industry overall progress and get to a place where it stays as secure and it also gains convenience. Because one of the things that Leodes and that he talked about when he was on the podcast is that there's been a balance for a long time where they're like, you can't have security and convenience. It's a weighted scale, right? You get more security, it gets less convenient. Well, you get more convenience, it gets less secure. And that just really isn't the case anymore when it comes to the type of technological advances that we've had. And it allows for things like GeoKey, where you're working within secure credentials. You're working within a secured system. It's actually still securing the building, reader there or not. And it is also entirely convenient for the project manager and the consumer.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I would even venture to say there's a third dimension to that, because you're right. It's security, it's convenience and simplicity. But the last thing that a company in this industry needs is the operational support. And that's the operational support to the integrator, and it's real people talking. It's saying, hey, we're going to integrate this, we're going to implement this, we're going to communicate this, educate, and we're going to do this together, and we're going to hold hands through this process. And that goes to the clients as well. And through that, the quicker you can get people educated and understanding and comfortable, it's just an overall amazing experience. So if you can nail those three dimensions, that's where it wins, and that's what people truly want in this market.
Yeah, 100% on that as well, because I can't agree more, because I've sat with really good technology. It was really convenient, and it kept it secure. And then you would get to the support side of things, of needing my team educated or being able to take information and pass it to the customer. And it was, I'm not kidding, like weeks out. This is something that we've been battling with at Sprinter for the last 6 months. It's like weeks out just to get an answer from a company that's huge and that has an excellent product. But that support, you're right. You have to nail that. And I think that that's what will draw the integrators in to be like, this is who I want to work with, especially when you integrate with people like PDK, because that's one thing that PDK got right out the gate. I started putting their stuff in like 7-8 years ago. And in all of that time, I've called their support line hundreds of times. And when I do call, it is never more than 2 rings. And I get somebody who knows the system. So it is that support that is critical. Can you elaborate more on the support side of GeoKey? I know it's kind of a left turn, but now that you said that, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 types of support in our company. That's how important we take it. So we have field tech engineers and the estimators and the project managers that are working with the integrator teams to make sure that this goes off without a hitch. We have a client services team that's working with the ownership group. So let's get your Yardi or Entrada online. Can I teach you the software? Let's make sure this integrates into your operations easily. Do I need to train new staff? So the client service team does that. And then we have 24/7, 365 support all the way down to the tenant. So in the GeoKey app, you can chat our support team at any point in time, and they will help you. And 95% plus of the time, it's my Bluetooth wasn't on, my location services wasn't on, or I just need help logging in. But the fact that they have somebody there to help them is pivotal. So there's 3 dimensions of support in our company.
And that support team that's helping the customer get into their door at 2 a.m., that's you guys, not the security integrator.
Yes, that's us.
That's probably, that's the one thing all security integrators want to hear. So they're going to call you, not me, right?
Yep, they call us. And so the security integrators love it because of that. And then the maintenance teams on site at the apartment complexes go, I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and drive to the property anymore.
To let somebody in?
Yeah. We got you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So the second feature that I wanted to highlight was the geofencing. And this is, you've kind of talked about not needing a reader on the door, and I just want listeners to kind of start to grasp what this means. Actually, you guys introduced me more to this concept. I'd seen it in an article or 2 probably in the last 6 to 8 months, but it would just kind of like flew by my head. And then we started working with you guys, and I was like, oh my God, you might not need a reader on the door. And if you go back, I think I've mentioned it the last 4 podcasts, even in interviews with other people. I'm like, so are we going to need a reader? So it is like pressing on my mind right now. So can you tell us a little bit about geofencing, maybe what it is and how it plays a role within the access control system or GeoKey more specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is in our multi-factor authentication. You have to have the login credential, have access to the doors within your mobile credential, but then reside in the geofence of the property. As you go into that geofence, it says you can unlock this door. Now our integrations are so deep that it's just an API call to the controller and head-end equipment to say, I'm me, I'm here, and I'm ready to open this door. That relays the strike, maglock, whatever you're controlling. And now you can open up those doors. And so that's how we can do it without a reader. Now, if you want to add a reader, you want to add fobs, you want to add the PIN codes, we support that as well. There's some properties that say, hey, I want various levels of access methods, then we can support that. But we are seeing a lot of mobile-only properties, and they work fantastically.
And I mean, the client these days expects it. You expect that, if I'm in a brand new apartment complex, or if the school put in an update to their student housing, I'm expecting to use my phone to do that. I mean, I'm paying for my Starbucks with my Apple Pay. So it's like, of course I'm accessing my door with my phone. And so just to kind of help clarify and unpack that, you really don't need a reader at a door. You can walk up to, let's say, the gym or the pool or even the front door to your property, and there can be no reader from the outside. You can see the little, the hex bolt that is holding the mag lock on, but other than that, it's just a door.
Just clean.
Yeah, just clean. And you walk up there and you hit the button from your app, and it unlocks the door and you go in.
Bingo.
I think that though GeoKey is centrally focused around the MDU space, this is something that I really think is going to advance into all access control systems, and it's gonna kind of pair with like self-sovereign identity, that like we become the credential, we become the thing that it's checking is there. And with our phones so attached to our hands, we're probably already biometric in that scape, that it is us who is here. And so now the door opens, and that's just fantastic. I love that you guys are capitalizing on that, and that you're pushing the industry forward in that motion, because you don't lose security on it. And it's hard to get over, it's hard to teach the old dog new tricks. And so a lot of security integrators that have been in it for a long time are probably like, well, you need a reader. I mean, what are you going to do when
Yep. You'd be surprised. These old dogs are doing backflips, and they're doing tricks, and they're loving it, because they're
good.
like,
that's good.
Yeah, it's less infrastructure, and I can get jobs done quicker, and that my clients are happy. And so, it has been fun. It's been fun to watch that, and even telling them like, hey, we've got solutions that if the network goes down, there's no power internet in the building, we can still control the doors, because we have solutions with our partners to be able to do that, and to say, we've got something for you. We've got a solution for you. We're here to support you. And that we've just made I'm going to be honest, we've made some really amazing partnerships and relationships through this journey.
Mm. And so those partnerships and relationships, what do those look like coming down the pipe? So we've kind of got off the bat here and mentioned PDK and Yale as your two newest integrations. What does that look like for the security integrator that's putting this in? Is that running all out of PDK now, or how does the Yale deadbolts and levers, what do those look like?
I'll tell you, it's the whole menu. So we've got something for you. If you're focused on something that's more, you want to fit on a certain property, a lock type, we've probably got it for you. If you're looking in a budget, in a kind of a budget range, we can work with you on that. If it's Yale or Master Lock, Port, Carry Systems, PDK, Access, people have preferences, and that's what we're trying to provide at GeoKey. Over the next couple of months, I'm going to need to be on your podcast again, because we've got some really cool ones that we're going to announce, and
cool.
we'll be able to talk about that. But you can follow us, go to geokeyaccess.com, or follow us on any of the socials, GeoKey Inc. And you can follow along and see these big announcements coming up. They're really exciting in 2024.
So from the PDK side of things, is it all still through the GeoKey app, or any, I guess, Access Communications or Carry also?
Yeah, everything's managed in a GeoKey dashboard. So you can go in there, you can add users, remove them, set schedules. You can communicate, send messages through the app, access support, data analytics. There's so much that you can see and do in there, but it's a very seamless, easy to use experience. And you can do that from your desktop, laptop, phone, tablet, wherever you are at. You can always manage the credentials of your property.
And I'm so glad that you brought up data analytics. That was one thing that I think I forgot to put on our list of questions, but can data analytics, from the scope of the security industry as a whole, is super important, very valuable. And I feel that only in the last decade or so did enterprise systems kind of get that, because at an enterprise system, you needed, you had usually a very wealthy client that needed to know those things so that they knew that money wasn't going out the door because this system wasn't working or that system wasn't working and their assets weren't secure or something like that. But data analytics has kind of become more of the way that the access control solution can communicate with the owner or the provider of that solution to a client or to their property or something like that. So I love seeing it in more and more access control solutions from a dashboard, like you said, even on stuff like GeoKey that's going more into the MDU space, less into like governmental, buildings or anything like that. So can you tell me a little bit about the analytics from the dashboard and what that does for the integrators that are using GeoKey as a solution for their clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk all day on data analytics and how we operate it, from who accessed what parts when, who's not using it, and so on. But I'll just give two examples that are really good ones. One, each of these owners have a capital expenditure budget, and each year they're going to enhance their properties in some form or fashion. Let's say they have gyms, they have pools, they have whatever that may be. They're able to go in and use our data reports to say, oh, the gym was never used. Maybe we turn that into something they would want to use. So now they're using that from a financial perspective to make decisions, to understand where are people going on property and what are they using and what's not being used. Another thing that they use our data for is our thermostat control. So be able to say what setting or what degrees is going on through the property. What's the average? What's the minimum? What's the maximum? Is it on 55 degrees across all the board? Okay, we're spending a lot of money. That's bad for the environment. It's bad for the energy bill. Let's put minimum and maximum, and let's see what's doing it from an energy perspective for thermostat. So we're able to aggregate all that data. There's a lot more use cases in there, but those are just a couple that are high priority for the ownership base.
And so those kind of peripheral integrations are like the thermostat. And then you also said that you had like leak detection. And are there any more outside of that?
So from a hardware perspective, it's access, thermostat control, and water leak detection. And then everything else, our integrations would be more software-based integrations. So like Tour24 for self-guided touring, so people can tour and go through a tour experience without somebody walking them through it, go through a lease cycle and sign up. Tour24 does that. And then our integrations to optimize operations with Yardi, Entrada, RealPage, and you can do that through the PMS systems. And there's more from that. So it's really just centralized from the hardware all the way to just putting that new tenant into the system and everything in between. That's what GeoKey tries to capture.
And do you guys do lights or CO2 sensors or anything like that?
No lights or CO2 at this time.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, I think that those peripherals, like adding those sorts of things in and making sure that it's easy from the hardware all the way to the software is really what makes, GeoKey shine. And it was definitely one of the reasons that it hooked me from the very beginning. But just so that we get all the listeners on one page, and they probably dropped off if they don't understand what we're talking about when we say MDU by now. But if you're still here, can you give a little bit of an overview of what MDU is and maybe what you feel the current health or story behind this particular vertical is for our industry right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So MDU is going to be that falls in the category of multi-unit dwellings, so like apartment complexes, student housing, affordable living. That's what the MDU space is. So things that need garages, external doors, common doors, amenity doors, and then interior unit. That's what we specialize in to create an amazing experience for them there.
And so what do you feel like? How do you feel like this vertical is kind of in the state of our nation? Is this growing? Is this like just rocket fuel, or is it like slowly building a robust network? What's it look like for our country right now?
It's a wild, wild west. I mean, with a housing shortage and people looking to go, interest rates up, it's hard to buy homes right now. People are moving into apartment complexes for more affordable living, but it's still their home. They still wanted a place where they feel comfortable and they can kick their feet up and know I'm going to put my head on my pillow tonight and I'm secure, but it also meets all my needs from a simplistic and amenity perspective. So mobile access in the MDU space right now, there's probably only 1.5 million doors that are using mobile access. There's 27 million apartment units in the United States today. That's why I say it's the wild, wild west. But people want it. People will choose to go to an apartment that has the mobile security over one that doesn't. And if they were exactly the same, they'll always choose that one because they see it as an amenity for them. It's a security measure. They want that. So It's a high need. Like I said, a couple years ago, it was like, do we want mobile? Now it's not, do we want mobile? It's, I want mobile and I want X, Y, Z. I want all these softwares included and so on. So it creates this amazing experience. So the evolution was fast, and the want was quick, and the market needs it now. So we're excited to be in the market today with GeoKey.
Yeah. And so do you feel like, can you talk to, because I'm sure you feel like this, can you talk to how GeoKey works kind of from both standpoints of new installation and retrofit?
Yeah, so we can work with both. So on a new installation, we're going to help with Division 8 and Division 28, planning the door preps and the cuts and where the wiring goes. So we do that, and we work with the architects and, hey, you don't need these readers. Hey, you don't need to run this wiring, so we're going to save you a lot of cost. So that's on the new build. I would say majority of our business is retrofit. So because of the lack of infrastructure, if I say, hey, listen, you want smart doors, you want make this a smart facility, say yes. Well, competitors would say, well, I need $100,000 to $200,000 worth of trenching and to get managed Wi-Fi, bulk Wi-Fi, and so on. And we say, well, you don't need that. Just buy the locks and we'll turn it on. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So to go into these and create smart buildings at such a low cost barrier to entry has been transformative for the market. And that's why they're choosing GeoKey to value add their current existing properties.
Awesome. And I also want to talk about, from that MDU side, is student housing. So the redheaded stepchild, if you will. What approach should integrators maybe be taking with this vertical? And then how does GeoKey help solve that also?
Yeah, I love student housing. We launched our brand GeoKey U, which is our student housing brand to help with that. There is different nuances when it comes to student housing. You got to think about this. 100% of the people are moving out every year. So, and then they're all moving in again, in the fall and school year and so on. So you have, your system better be optimized and ready to do credentialing right when they turn that on and being able to coordinate times. The other thing about student housing is, like an apartment complex, you rent out the unit. When student housing, you have the unit, but then you rent out each bed. So to be able to credential all the way down to the bedroom by each student, that's really important. So these are just a couple of the ways that we work with student housing to be able to optimize their operations and keeping these students secure. A lot of the time, mom and dad are paying for rent. So if they can have peace of mind that their daughter or son is going to be safe of where they're living, and they are safe because they're utilizing this advanced technology on their phone, everyone wins.
Yeah, they're not leaving their key at the the football game or something like that, and
Yep, it's under the mat.
Yeah, no one leaves without their phone. They know they forgot it on the bleacher before they're even up the stairs. So yeah, no, that's awesome. And and another vertical that GeoKey talks about on their website is industrial. So can you kind of elaborate on how hardware agnostic mobile access geofenced product might play a role within an industrial setting?
Yeah, absolutely. We work as this transition to get to the MDU space. We have done industrial. We work with manufacturing facilities, utility companies, because our hardware agnostic approach allows you to control multiple different solutions at once. So we can do padlocks, garage doors, gates, elevators, regular doors. So when you're going into these, let's say, manufacturing facility, you need to know who's going in, when they're going in, opening a padlock to this, but I also went into this garage gate. We can do full data analytics that say who's coming in and where. And that's really important for these manufacturing facilities, securing a lot of the times multi-million dollars worth of equipment. And then the utility companies as well, they can see who's going in and to be able to move with an access point. That's really important to them as well.
And then you also do touch a little bit on, like you said, master lock. You had wireless kind of padlocks and stuff like that. Can you elaborate how GeoKey works with those?
Yeah, so it's a Bluetooth credential, and you're doing it the same way you would open up a door or a gate. So you take your phone and it's the LTE of the phone, GeoKey's credentialing, and then it's just communicating to the padlock, and you can open up the padlock, which is a great solution for like storage units. You can get into the gate, get into your storage unit. If someone's not paying, you can remove that credential. You don't have to cut the deadbolt anymore, and that's really important.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about, in the industrial setting or in infrastructure, those types of places, they might have just a storage container out in the middle of nowhere, and they don't need to have any power out there. They don't need to have any Wi-Fi out there. As long as you can get a bar, you can just show up and pop the lock, and the construction worker can do what they need to do. So,
well, we do hold offline keys too. So if you had your app open and you went to an offline setting, you'd still be able to unlock that in an offline setting.
So you don't even need LTE out in the middle of nowhere to pop the lock.
You don't. We can handle it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what is, what was I going to say? I had one more question about the padlock side of things. Someone might want to know, how does the padlock, how do you geofence a padlock? So are you providing the hardware that's within the padlock that's geolocated, or what's that look like?
Yeah, so we can remove some geofencing feature sets. So we can just say proximity is within using the BLE. So we can override that. So in some scenarios, we'll do that. Or if we think the padlock's going to be stagnant and stay right there, then we can add the geofencing technology on top of it. So that's just kind of a taste of our customized approach. So upon setting up the account for that user, we're going to customize it to them of different permission settings, scheduling, and that's that client services department to help orchestrate that upon turning on the software.
And that GeoKey software, that GeoKey technology, or I'm sorry, GeoKey, I'm saying GeoKey, geofencing, geolocation technology is baked into the lock, whether it's on the door or it's a padlock or something like that?
It's baked into the phone. So we set that up.
The phone.
Yep. So it's all from the phone. Everything's from the phone.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I thought it was the other way around. So even I'm learning stuff on this podcast. That's great, man. Well, you know what? Do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap it up? Because I think we've covered a lot here, and I'm sure there's some head scratching going on right now. Like, I need to look into this, So anything else that you wanted to add?
We've got a team of educators. If you're interested in GeoKey and learning more, jump to our site, geokeyaccess.com. We have an amazing channel partner program. We'd love to partner with you or just learn more about you to see if we meet your needs. If you're out there and you're looking just to learn more about the multifamily space or any of the other verticals that we play in, we'd love to educate you there too.
And where can they find, if they wanted to contact you and ask you a question about something you said today?
Yep, just my first last name at geokeyaccess.com, Brandon.Peterson at geokeyaccess.com, or go to our site and put it in an inquiry. Just say you want to chat with me, and I'd love to talk. That's
awesome. And so just before we go, I forgot to mention, so you guys are based out of Omaha, right?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska. That's awesome. I used to work for a national security provider, and I was their Kansas City tech. And then when COVID hit and it kind of became that security integrators were, what did they call us? Like mandatory workers or whatever they said. The work dried up in Kansas City, but we had an Omaha couple techs up there, and we had a bunch of bigger clients. So I drove to Omaha like 3 days a week.
Did you try the steak?
Yeah, I tried the steak. Oh yeah, I've had the steak before.
There we go.
Yeah. I wouldn't be from the Midwest if I wasn't eating steak and barbecue.
That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Well, I'm glad you came over. I can't wait to host you the next time you come out.
Yeah, man, for sure. Next time I'm up there, we'll have to get together. But
that sounds good.
Hey, I really appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for sharing this. I want this segment and the listeners who are listening to this podcast to just have the resources that they need. And I just know that someone's listening or someone heard this, that the next opportunity they get with MDU spaces, they're going to go, I think I got something that can fix this. And it's going to be a good thing. So thanks so much for giving your time, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Bear. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we'll have you on for, maybe I'll do a little like tech update off of some of these podcasts when stuff gets released. So
Happy to
we'll
do
have
it.
you on.
All right.
But all right, man. Thanks so much, Brandon. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you have a good one.
All right.